watching this part, that means you are watching the replay. You did not get a notification that I was going live. So head on over to wherever it goes, hit the follow button, the like button, whatever button it is, and make sure that you sign up for the notifications. I think it's a bell or something like that, but it'll say notifications. Welcome, welcome. Say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. I see you guys coming in. I'm so happy to see you guys. You guys got the notification, I see. Good job, guys. Good job. As you can also see, the Divine Bay is back with his aligned chakras and his dope-ass masculinity. And so that masculinity is just a reflection of the masculinity that I also embody. However, as a feminine being in this space, in this time, in this present moment, I exhibit, exude, and embody more femininity as it pertains to the way I work, the way I maneuver, the way I manage through life, as well as my appearance. And that is something I have worked on. That is something I have worked for. Because at one point I was extremely masculine, super masculine. Always cussing somebody out. That was how the masculinity affected me. Just very harsh, very hard, always hitting somebody, or just very, very, and then of course that was just how it would appear. However, in relationship, it would do nothing but cause friction. Because I'm also attracted to very alpha male, masculine men. Masculine men, like extremely masculine men. And to be a masculine woman is kind of like having two chefs in the kitchen, or you can't have two alpha males of a pack. I think actually maybe some wolves do, but I don't actually know. Maybe. I'm going to Google that now. And so that was when, and if you've heard this story about my little dude back in the day, there was a point in time where he was like, you need to go find you a bitch, dude. Like, because an alpha man like me, we don't deal with this. This is just not it. This is not it. Now, of course, he could have said it in a different way for those who may have needed it in a different way. But I do believe that all messages come as we will receive them, because for me, that really woke me up. And in that moment, although I lost my dude at that time, it made me look into myself. Was I happy with who I was? Because you know how we are. We like, love me as I am. If you can't love me in my masculine, you can't have me in my feminine. You don't have me. If you don't want me in my low times, you can't have me in my high times. You know, we get real, right? So for me, it was, do I want to be happy or do I want to be right? I want to be happy, okay? Because I'm always going to be right when it comes to me, right? So whatever I say. But I didn't care about that. I really didn't. I wanted to be happy. And so I had to go inside. Had nothing to do with him anymore. I mean, he was just the catalyst. He was the mirror that showed me what I needed to hear, what I needed to see, what I now needed to take a look at. And so for me, I was like, okay, I am masculine. I'm apparently extremely masculine. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? And does that bother me? Maybe that's how I want to go about living my life. That's not a problem. But where does my power lie? As a Mora, as I showed up, according to, how I feel and what makes me feel good, how do I find the path of least resistance? Now, for some women, I do believe it's possible that a masculine frequency is your path of least resistance. However, for others, anyone similar to myself, the masculinity, the extreme, I'm not even going to say extreme, I think it was extreme, but the energy of masculinity imbalance, because I still have that masculine energy. I tap, is it raining? Oh no, it's not raining, it's just the bamboo. I tap into that masculine frequency when I need to get things done, when I need to get logic, involved in something, when I need to go after something in an electric way. So in my space, I had to begin to be my own scientific experiment. How do people respond to me when I am in a feminine space, in a space of reception, being able to receive, being able to carry energy, sit on it, think about it before giving birth to it? Or am I okay with the way I pounce on things? Because pouncing isn't a bad thing, it's just in a masculine frequency or energy is one that is focused. It goes after it. It's more, whereas femininity is more, what is the most fancy, spiritual, feeling good way to get to the end of the road? Maybe not fancy. I don't know where fancy came out. I think I feel fancy today because I got my bae. Hi, bae. Everybody say hi to bae. Again, with his aligned chakras, that masculinity reflecting upon me. But yet he's still a thug. That's spiritual gangster, okay? Don't get my baby twisted, man. We ain't about that. We ain't about that nonsense. We about that life. That life, that love, that life, that divinity, that sovereignty. Having seniority over your space. So yes. So for me, I realize that I get more done. I get more peace. I get more responses when I personally am in my femininity. When I am in a space where I'm not pushing, I'm just receiving. I'm in a space where I am ready. Things have been nurtured. Things have been prepared. Things have been taken care of so that the seed that is ready to grow can come and find its space within my life, within my aura, my everything, my being, my whatever. Whether that be a business idea, whether that be, I was going to say a job, but to me it's the same thing, like a business idea, project. People that you bring into your life. Does that resonate with you? Oh, you guys are speaking. I'm sorry. Hello. Tiffany, Tiana, Megan, and Ebony. Jasmine. Who else is there? So yes. Just wanted to bring in that balance of that masculine and feminine divine. We look the same. We got bodies. I'm going to get a tattoo on my stomach. No, I'm not. I do not want a tattoo on my stomach. I want one on my head, though. Right here. I told you I'm going to get a spiral, right? Like this. And on this side, too. It's down there, too. What else? And then the flower of life. Oh, you guys can't really see that, can you? I'm not going to pick it up, but the flower of life is behind him as well. Oh, and look what I also found. My other sacred geometry, because again, remember, that's what we were going into. Yes. And we'll talk about this one. Well, I guess not really talking about it. It's just pretty much whatever. But let's start with this one. So this is, my dears, the seed of life. The seed of life. And you ask, how do these pieces of shape, what do they have to do with healing? What do they have to do with me? What do they have to do with healing? So everything in life is mathematical. Again, as you see, this is called Fibonacci sequence. It is a mathematical equation of how a shell, artichoke, a cabbage, a palm tree, like all of these, a plant, how they grow in mathematical equation. And it gets bigger further you get around. That is, again, a building block of life. It's like the invisible cells of the life that we are living. And so when we begin, it all just begins with one little circle. When we begin to cross these circles, this one is the seed of life. 7 circles in total. So again, there's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this one in the middle creates the 7th. Okay? And do you see? Isn't that the coolest? I love it. But where do you see this? You see this in like when you cut in flowers. Doesn't it look like a flower? So this is the seed of life, the beginning of life. And just looking upon it helps your body, helps your mind, helps your, if nothing else, it helps your spiritual frequency recalibrate itself. Remember, oh, let me get more in alignment with balance of life versus picking up chemtrails or staring at the screen of the computer all day, which is literally sucking our energy. Okay? So then, from the seed of life, we then get the flower of life. Yes? Okay, so I wanted to show you guys this one. And playing around with this, that's why I even bring these up. Drawing them. This one is probably the simplest to draw. You will need a protractor or I used to just use like a cup or something. Like you just use the circles, but the point is that it's so succinct. These lines have to be so succinct. Not they don't have to be, but that's part of it. That's part of the practice. Oh, look. It looks similar to the cards that I use. These are my, these cards. This is not the flower of life, but it's those circles. Anyway. Apparently we're supposed to tap into these cards today. I wasn't planning on it. More circles. Oh yeah, we're doing circles today. This is great. Ooh. Okay. This is great. Ooh. You guys. Hey, Chloe. Who else? Jasmine said, I liked when you shaved your head and left the heart in the back. That was dope. That was funny. I didn't leave it for too long. I was just being silly. Okay, so this one, it's just 3 circles. You start with a smaller circle on the inside, and then you have a circle that you put, of course, on the outer rim that does not touch, and then a 3rd circle. Okay, kind of like if you, oh, sorry, babe. That's that big old booty I got. Did you see me tap my booty? Oh my God. So this one, this Adinkra symbol is royalty or greatness. Isn't that awesome? So these symbols, this is what the collective has decided these symbols mean. So in that being so, in just doodling them and with an intention of, you know what, I'm tapping into my greatness. I'm tapping into my royalty. I walk on this earth as if I am royalty because I am. I come straight from the stars. Sounds like royalty to me, right? Yes? Can you guys do that? So can you guys just take it upon yourselves to begin to draw? I feel like this is just so easy. Then, so starting with that one, moving into the seed of life. And if you real bad, I've never done this one. I'm not even going to act like, have I? No. I really like the seed of life. That's the one that I really like to play with and draw with. And even if you print it out and just color it, like that starts to, you get into a meditative state, and it's a different type of state because you're like, it's like staring at something. You're looking at it. And so, yeah, it does its magic. So we're going to do something different for today's heart healing portion, like actual, instead of the sound bowls. Has anybody read The Alchemist? Anybody? 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 Oh, thank you for letting me know, Tiana. Tiana says, I love this. Because sometimes I'd be like, because I didn't read this nowhere. This is the stuff that I be saying, and then I go to Google it later. I'm like, oh, okay. At least it can be backed up by someone else too now. Because I'm just telling you, I used to be opening my mouth. Okay, so Jasmine said yes. Tiffany says, of course. Beautiful, beautiful. So when was the last time you guys read? I feel like this is something, and it was a gift. Actually, I'm not even going to go there yet. Just remember that I said this was a gift. Okay? So the introduction. Do I want to read the introduction? No. Yes. So for those who have not read it, this is a great way to start. I'm just going to read. But even if you have read it, this is one of those books that has so many lessons that you can read it often and always get something different. And so for me, when I first got this book, it sat on my shelf for a while. And then one day, it was a Sunday, and I had 2 bottles of wine and 1 bottle of wine and 2 pomegranates at my house. I didn't have anything else to eat or drink. And I remember I just started reading it, and I read the whole book in one day. And I cried, and I had emotions, but I had energy shifts. Like literally, this book helped me shift some serious energy and see things differently. So in just knowing that and having the book call out for me, and then this was even before I knew what alchemy was. I didn't know what no alchemist. What? That's why I said it sat on my shelf for a while. I was like, what is this? What do I need this for? And then until the book called to me. What books have called to you guys before? Where it's like, it may have sat on your shelf, or friends may have told you about it for forever, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I have that book. And then you pick it up and you read it, and then you're like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I needed right now. But had I read it when I got it 2 years ago, I wouldn't have gotten anything from it. All right. So, this is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And I don't know how much or how often I'm going to read the book, but I wanted to start. And so, how much time have we been on? Oh, just 20 minutes. So let's see how far we get in let's start with 10 minutes. So, introduction. I remember receiving a letter from the American publisher HarperCollins that said, reading The Alchemist was like getting up at dawn and seeing the sunrise while the rest of the world still slept. I went outside, looked up at the sky, and thought to myself, so the book is going to be published in English. At the time, I was struggling to establish myself as a writer and to follow my path despite all the voices telling me it was impossible. And little by little, my dream was becoming reality. 10, 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 copies sold in America. One day, a Brazilian journalist phoned to say that President Clinton had been photographed reading the book. Sometime later, when I was in Turkey, I opened the magazine Vanity Fair, and there was Julia Roberts declaring that she adored the book. Walking alone down a street in Miami, I heard a girl telling her mother, you must read The Alchemist. The body of work. The book has been translated into 56 languages, has sold more than 20 million copies, and people are beginning to ask, what's the secret behind such a huge success? The only honest response I know, I don't know. All I know is that, like Santiago the shepherd boy, that's the character of the book, we all need to be aware of our personal calling. What is a personal calling? It is God's blessing. It is the path that God chose for you here on earth. Whether we do something that fills us with enthusiasm, we are following our Whenever we do something that fills us with enthusiasm, we are following our legend. However, we don't have to have the courage to confront our own dreams. We don't all have that courage. Why? There are 4 obstacles. First, we are told from childhood onward that everything we want to do is impossible. We grow up with this idea, and as the years accumulate, so too the layers of prejudice, fear, and guilt. There comes a time when our personal calling is so deeply buried in our soul as to be invisible, but it's still there. If we have the courage to dissenter? I don't know that word. Oh, I can't Google it because my phone's over here. Let me highlight it. I have a pen over here. I need to be more prepared. If we have the courage to dissenter dream, we are then faced by the second obstacle, love. We know what we want to do, but are afraid of hurting those around us by abandoning everything in order to pursue our dream. Pursue our dream. We do not realize that love is just a further impetus, not something that will prevent us from going forward. We do not realize that those who genuinely wish us well want us to be happy and are prepared to accompany us on that journey. Once we have accepted that love is a stimulus, we come against the third obstacle, fear of the defeats we will meet on the path. We who fight for our dreams suffer far more when it doesn't work out because we cannot fall back on the old excuse of, oh, well, I didn't really want it anyway. We do want it. And know that we have staked everything on it, and that path of personal calling is no easier than any other path, except that our whole heart is in this journey. Then, we warriors of light must be prepared to have patience in difficult times, and to know that the universe is conspiring in our favor, even though we may not understand how. I ask myself, are defeats necessary? Well, necessary or not, they happen. When we first begin fighting for our dream, we have no experience, and many make mistakes. We always make mistakes. The secret of life, though, is to fall 7 times and get up 8. So why is it important to live our personal calling if we're only going to suffer more than other people? Because once we have overcome the defeats, and we always do, we are filled by a greater sense of euphoria and confidence. In the silence of our hearts, we know that we are proving ourselves worthy of the miracle of life. Each day, each hour, it's part of the good fight. We start to live with enthusiasm and pleasure. Intense, unexpected suffering passes more quickly than suffering that is apparently bearable. Intense, unexpected suffering passes more quickly than suffering that is apparently bearable. The latter goes on for years without our noticing. It eats away at our soul until one day we are no longer able to free ourselves from the bitterness, and it stays with us for the rest of our lives. Having disinterred our dream, having used the power of love to nurture and spent many years living with the scars, we suddenly notice that what we always wanted is there, waiting for us, perhaps the very next day. Then comes the fourth obstacle. The fear of realizing the dream for which we fought all of our lives. Oscar Wilde said, "Each man kills the thing he loves." And it's true. The mere possibility of getting what we want fills the soul of the ordinary person with guilt. We look around at all of those who have failed to get what they want and feel that they do not deserve, and feel that we do not deserve to get what we want either. We forget about all the obstacles we overcame, all the suffering we endured, all the things we had given up in order to get this far. I have known a lot of people who, when their personal calling was within their grasp, went on to commit a series of stupid mistakes and never reached their goal when it was only one step away. This is the most dangerous of the obstacles because it has a kind of This is the most dangerous of the obstacles because it has a kind of saintly aura about it, renouncing joy and conquest. But if you believe yourself worthy of the thing you fought so hard to get, then you become an instrument of God. You help the soul of the world, and you understand why you are here. And that was written by Paulo Coelho in Rio de Janeiro, November of 2002, and it was translated. I'm not sure he believes in English. I'm not sure he speaks English. Prologue. How much time we got? Oh, that was only like 6 minutes. Good. Again, if you're joining me right now, this is me, the live reading. The live reading of The Alchemist. It is my favorite book. And just so many different lessons. I try to read it every year, if not more. I listen to it on audiobook, but I actually have the pages that I like to feel too. So we're going to keep going. Prologue. The alchemist picked up a book that someone in the caravan had brought. Leafing through the pages, he found a story about Narcissus. The alchemist knew the legend of Narcissus, a youth who knelt daily beside a lake to contemplate his own beauty. He was so fascinated by himself that one morning he fell into the lake and drowned. At the spot where he fell, a flower was born, which was called the Narcissus. The Narcissus. See where it comes from? But this was not how the author of the book ended the story. He said that when Narcissus died, the goddess of the forest appeared and found the lake, which had been fresh water, transformed into a lake of salty tears. "Why do you weep?" the goddesses asked. "I weep for Narcissus," the lake replied. "Ah, it is no surprise that you weep for Narcissus," they said. "For though we always pursued him in the forest, you alone could contemplate his beauty close at hand." "But was Narcissus beautiful?" the lake asked. "Who better to know than you?" the goddesses said in wonder. "After all, it was by your banks that he knelt each day to contemplate himself." The lake was silent for some time. Finally, it said, "I weep for Narcissus, but I never noticed that Narcissus was beautiful. I weep because each time he knelt beside my banks, I could see in the depths of his eyes my own beauty reflected." What a lovely story, the alchemist thought. Part 1. I am already getting emotional, y'all. Whoo! This book, so if I'm getting emotional, just know y'all moving energy. If you don't want to move energy, you might want to leave now. Because this is about to have some energy releasing. If it does not happen now, if you're in a space where you are not able to shift energy, maybe you're at work or something like that, you'll still shift it, but maybe the experience of it will be delayed. Okay? So calling in all love, life, spirit, and truth for all who join this session. We are transmuting energy through reading The Alchemist. What is an alchemist? An alchemist is someone who transmutes lower frequencies, lower vibrations, lower feelings, emotions, thoughts, or metals, or anything into something that is whole, something that is of a higher vibration, of a magical frequency. In The Alchemist, the book, we will read that it is about turning lead into gold. So what is the lead of your life? What is in your life that has pained you, that has you crying, that has you missing your family or broken apart at the seams, or maybe rebellious children or a lost lover or whatever it may be? Take that lead in your life and be determined to flip that shit around. Make that your story. Make that your strength. I read this book when I was probably at one of my lowest points, and it was just so magnificent. And so this is the first time I have read it with someone, and of course, knowing, of course, that I am an energy healer and that this is a heart healing, a more energy event that you have tuned into today. We have the energy of the buffalo with us as well. Right? All right, so let's get into The Alchemist. See yourself as Santiago. See yourself as Santiago. Okay, are you ready? The boy's name was Santiago. Dusk was falling as the boy arrived with his herd at an abandoned church. The roof had fallen in long ago, and an enormous sycamore had grown on the spot where the sacristy had once stood. He decided to spend the night there. He saw to it that all the sheep entered through the ruined gate, and then laid some planks across it to prevent the flock from wandering away during the night. There were no wolves in the region, but once an animal had strayed during the night, and the boy had had to spend the entire next day searching for it. He swept the floor with his jacket and lay down, using the book he had just finished as a pillow. He told himself that he would have to start reading thicker books. They lasted longer and made more comfortable pillows. It was still dark when he awoke, and looking up, he could see the stars through the half-destroyed roof. I wanted to sleep a little longer, he thought. He had had the same dream that night a week ago, and once again he had wakened before it ended. He arose, taking his crook, began to awaken the sheep that still slept. He had noticed that as soon as he awoke, most of his animals also began to stir. It was as if some mysterious energy bound his life to that of the sheep, with whom he had slept for the past 2 years, for the past 2 years, leading them through the countryside in search of food and water. They're so used to me that they know my schedule, he muttered to himself. Thinking about that for a moment, he realized that it could be the other way around, that it was he who had become accustomed to their schedule. But there were certain of them who took a bit longer to awaken. The boy prodded them one by one with his crook, calling each by name. He had always believed that the sheep were able to understand what he said. So there were times when he read them parts of his books, the books that had made an impression on him, or when he would tell them of the loneliness or the happiness of being a shepherd in the fields. Sometimes he would comment to them on things he had seen in the villages they passed. But for the past few days, he had spoken to them only about one thing: the girl, the daughter of a merchant who lived in the village they would reach in about 4 days. He had been to the village only once before, the year before. The merchant was the proprietor of a dry goods shop, and he always demanded that the sheep be sheared in his presence so that he would not be cheated. A friend had told the boy about the shop, that he had taken his sheep there. "I need to sell some wool," the boy told the merchant. The shop was busy, and the man asked the shepherd to wait until the afternoon. So the boy sat on the steps, and the shop He sat on the steps of the shop and took a book from his bag. "I didn't know shepherds knew how to read," said the girl's voice behind him. The girl was typical of the region of Andalusia, with flowing black hair and eyes that vaguely recalled the Moorish conquerors. "Well, usually I learn more from my sheep than from my books," he answered. During the 2 hours that they talked, she told him that she was the merchant's daughter, and she spoke of life in the village, where each day was like all of the others. The shepherd told her of the Andalusian countryside and related the news from the other towns where he had stopped. It was a pleasant change from his talking to the sheep. "How did you learn to read?" the girl asked at one point. "Like everybody learns," he said. "In school." "Well, if you know how to read, why are you just a shepherd?" The boy mumbled an answer that allowed him to avoid responding to her question. He was sure the girl would never understand. He went on telling stories about his travels, and her bright Moorish eyes went wide with fear and surprise. At this time, the boy found himself wishing that the day would never end, that her father would stay busy and keep him waiting for 3 days. He recognized that he was feeling something he had never felt before, the desire to live in one place forever. With the girl, with the raven hair, his days would never be the same again. But finally the merchant appeared and asked the boy to shear 4 sheep. He paid for the wool and asked the shepherd to come back the following year. And now, it was only 4 days before he would be back in that same village. He was excited and at the same time uneasy. Maybe the girl had already forgotten about him. Lots of shepherds passed through selling their wool. "It doesn't matter," he said to his sheep. "I know other girls in other places." But in his heart, he knew that it did matter. And he knew that shepherds, like seamen and like traveling salesmen, always found a town where there was someone who could make them forget the joys of carefree wandering. The day was dawning, and the shepherd urged his sheep in the direction of the sun. They never have to make any decisions, he thought. Maybe that's why they always stay close to me. The only things that concerned the sheep were food and water. As long as the boy knew how to find those in these pastures of Andalusia, they would be his friends. Yes, their days were all the same, with the seemingly endless hours between sunrise and dusk. And they had never read a book in their young lives. And they didn't understand when the boy told them about the sights of the cities. They were content with just food and water. And in exchange, they generously gave of their wool, their company, and once in a while, their meat. If I became a monster today and decided to kill them one by one, they would become aware only after most of the flock had been slaughtered, thought the boy. They trust me, and they've forgotten how to rely on their own instincts, because I lead them to nourishment. The boy was surprised at his thoughts. Maybe the church, with the sycamore growing from within, had been haunted. It had caused him to have the same dream for a second time, and it was causing him to feel anger toward his faithful companions. He drank a bit of wine that remained from his dinner of the night before, and he gathered his jacket closer to his body. He knew that in a few hours from now, the sun at its zenith, the heat would be so great that he would not be able to lead his flock across the fields. It was the time of day when all of Spain slept during the summer. The heat lasted until nightfall, and all that time he had to carry his jacket. But when he thought to complain about the burden of its weight, he remembered that because he had the jacket, he had withstood the cold of the dawn. We have to be prepared for change, he thought. and he was grateful for the jacket's weight and warmth. Perception, perception, perception. The jacket had a purpose, and so did the boy. His purpose in life was to travel, and after 2 years of walking the Andalusian terrain, he knew all the cities of the region. He was planning on this visit to explain to the girl how it was that a simple shepherd boy knew how to read, that he had attended a seminary until he was 16. His parents had wanted him to become a priest, and thereby a source of pride for a simple farm family. They worked hard just to have food and water, like the sheep. He had studied Latin, Spanish, and theology. But ever since he had been a child, he had wanted to know the world. And this was much more important to him than knowing God and learning about man's sins. One afternoon on a visit to his family, he had summoned up the courage to tell his father that he didn't want to become a priest, that he wanted to travel. People from all over the world have passed through this village, son, said his father. They come in search of new things. But when they leave, they are basically the same people they were when they arrived. They climb the mountain to see the castle, and they wind up thinking that the past was better than what we have now. They have blonde hair or dark skin, but basically they're the same as people who live right here. But I'd like to see the castles in the towns where they live, the boy explained. Those people, when they see our land, say they would like to live here forever, his father continued. Well, I'd like to see their land and see how they live, said his son. The people who come here have a lot of money to spend, so they can afford to travel, his father said. Amongst us, the only ones who travel are shepherds. Well, I'll be a shepherd then. His father said no more. The next day, he gave his son a pouch that held 3 ancient Spanish coins. I found these one day in the fields. I wanted them to be part of your inheritance, but use them to buy your flock. Take to the fields, and someday you'll learn that our countryside is the best, and our women the most beautiful. And he gave the boy his blessing. The boy could see in his father's gaze a desire to be able himself to travel the world, a desire that was still alive, despite his father's having to bury it over dozens of years, under the burden of struggling for water to drink, food to eat, and the same place to sleep every night of his life. Oh yes, someone said, ooh, we have to be prepared. All right, so we're going to stop there. How was that for you guys? Anybody? Ooh. I would love to hear, and if you need to watch it again, I would love to hear what you got out of it. Where did you see yourself in this story so far? Where was there a twinge? Like, ooh, that was for me. Where did you feel that? Whether this is the replay, whether you're here with me live, let me know. Because even for me, man, so I could totally see myself as it pertains to when he talked to his dad. I, of course, y'all know my story of not being in the Jehovah's Witness religion anymore. So that's one part of it. My mother did not understand. I did not get her blessing. In fact, she has not spoken with me for 17 years. I went on to become a TV reporter, a journalist, radio, television. I did, of course, production in Hollywood, in Houston, as you guys know about that stuff. following in my daddy's footsteps. Because he too, right now, Fox 26 News, baby, check him out, right? Jose Grignon. And I did that for a good 8 years. And then my soul was like, I can't do this anymore. And my dad supported me. He was like, you're going to be successful in whatever you do. And so for me, that is complete mirroring. My mother, she wanted me to be a Jehovah's Witness, a priest, a very looked up to Jehovah's Witness, an example Jehovah's Witness, like off on the compound and like all that stuff. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that. And so it's just easy. I mean, it's interesting. And that's what art is. That's what writing is. That's what these books are. You know, they are putting our stories in something outside of ourselves, because why? Most of us are not able to go within and find these answers yet. So when we find them in works of art, in pieces of art, in the art that we do ourselves and create, when we are able to see a reflection that's like, oh shit, that's me. And then the person of the story handles something differently than the way we have handled it or are going to handle it when it comes up to us in the future. It just gives us a different perspective. One of the parts I really, really enjoy also is about the jacket. The jacket during the day, it's so flippin' hot and you're carrying it because he doesn't have a place to go. He's hanging out with his sheep. That jacket, it's heavy and it's a nuisance. But when it's cold, it's the best thing that he could possibly have. So what is it in your life that maybe you just don't appreciate in the proper manner? For instance, for me, when I'm working out, if I'm not enjoying myself, I think of the people that maybe lost the limb, or even just have a bad sprained ankle that never fully healed. They would give their life to be able to run again. They would give their life to be able to have a pain in their leg caused by walking and being active and being able to use their legs. You don't realize how wonderful it is to breathe until you can't even breathe because you have a stuffed up nose, or maybe a lung issue, or the flu, mucus. So instead of waiting until we get sick, instead of waiting for these signals to tell us to be appreciative of even the small things, I'm out of water today. I just drank my last bit of water. I'm cleansing today. So I just made my first little cleanse drink and I used my last bit of water. I'm using this time as a remembrance that all I have to do is go buy some water 3 blocks up the street. Or if I'm patient, around 2 o'clock, there's a waterman that comes to me that will refill my 5-gallon jugs of water. Do you know how many people are without water, are having to beg for clean water? Whether it's someone homeless on the street or whether it's someone that has a house in Flint, Michigan. Just being grateful. What are we complaining about? He broke your heart? Okay, cool. Are you still alive? Did you die though? You don't like your job? You hate your boss? Okay, leave. Oh, you can't? Okay, then you gotta figure it out. Because you cannot sit around be happy you have money coming in. That's a luxury. That is a luxury. If I don't work, I don't get a regular ass paycheck coming in. I don't know what my paycheck is gonna be every week. It depends on what I offer. It depends on the services. I'm not trading my money for my time. I'm trading my time for services that I'm giving. Expecting for an even exchange from the universe, from God, from the laws of the universe to be provided for. Maybe it's not monetary exchange. Maybe it's the ability to live in a mortgage-free mansion. Maybe it's access over money. Because you can have all the money in the world and still not be able to go places and do things. But if you have access, what you need money for? I want her. Come on, Amora, let's go. Okay. That's all it is. It's finding your place in life so that you can open up these doors of abundance. Expecting good at every turn. What did he say? That the universe is conspiring for our good. Hold on. Let's see. I want to read that part. That the universe is conspiring for our good. I think that's exactly what it says. No, I can't find it. Well, that's what it is. I know because I read the book a million bajillion times. So, talk to me, guys. And then was it the Oath of Manifestation? And then I will head out. Supporting our individual child's unique essence is so crucial. Yes. Yes, yes. Hello, Alanisa. Hello. The Jackpot Appreciation for me. Yes, this is an amazing book. So again, I think it's going to be backwards for you guys. But yeah, it's backwards. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Oh, I love it. So many blessings. Good job. Good job for showing up. Good job for watching. Good job for making it to this point. Let's get into the Oath of Manifestation. This oath is done every day with a partner, spoken out loud with tremendous feeling and emphasis, said many times throughout the day, recorded and listened to on your smart phone. You find it on my website at morewithamore.com/manifestation, or just Google the Oath of Manifestation, as I got it from the Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles, where I took meditation courses with Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. I love him. I accept and receive unexpected good, unexpected money, unexpected love, unexpected kindness, unexpected generosity, unexpected offers, unexpected prosperity, coming in unexpected ways, from unexpected places in my life and the lives of others. I am constantly guided and boldly empowered to receive the lavish abundance of the universe. I accept the principle that abundance and prosperity have already been given to me. It's my acceptance that makes it real and opens the space for manifestation to rush in. I open wide the doors of my consciousness to receive and to give. It is done now. Through this oath of manifestation, all things are possible. I declare absolutely I live in a friendly universe that is always providing for me. I feel it powerfully happening now. I open to receive more abundance and to give more abundance than I have ever experienced before. I can afford anything I desire. In fact, I am so prosperous, I need never worry again. I am grateful for all that I already have, and I am grateful for all that I am ready to give. I keep myself lifted in high consciousness, no matter what the appearances are. God is all there is, and I let the God times roll. And so it is, Ache and Amen. Highest will for all be done again and again and again and again. So, while I was doing the Oath of Manifestation, a card dropped, okay? It dropped face up. I'm looking at it. It says victory and success. I then cut the deck like this, okay, because I was about to shuffle again, and I see what? Triumphant success. What? Okay. So then I look at the bottom of the deck, and what is it? Triumph. Look at this. 2 7s. All right, 77. So 77 is your number for today, or until you get a new number. But we literally had triumphant success, victory and success came out. Then we had triumphant success, victory and success, triumphant success, and then triumph. In that order, okay? In that order. In that order. 6 + 1 = 7. We got 2 7s here. 14. Whoa, buddy. 2 7s. We're going to go 2 7s. I don't know what you guys are doing, but whatever it is, it's about to be triumphant, and you about to be successful. Okay. Okay. Ooh, yeah. I feel like that's enough. That's the only reading. I ain't got nothing else for you, man. I don't think this. If you would like a reading of your own, feel free to send a donation, and I will get that to your inbox. You can send it Cash App, More with Amora, or PayPal, morewithamora@gmail.com. And I will get that over to you. If you want, whether it's you want clarity on this, whether it's a love reading, just let me know. Send me an email after you send the monies. And that's all. Besitos.